A whale has been dead for 2 years, and a mile beneath the waves, its skeleton is slowly turning red, not with blood, with something alive. Thousands of them, waving in the current, feeding on bone that has no flesh left to give. It's almost 3,000 meters down, off the coast of California, and sunlight has never once reached this place. The seafloor here is a desert. Almost nothing lives, because almost nothing sinks this far without being eaten on the way down. And then one day, something does. A gray whale, dead and falling, drops out of the black and settles into the mud. A single whale fall can carry up to 160 tons of organic carbon to the bottom. Thousands of years of food arriving in one afternoon. For months, the scavengers come. Hagfish, sleeper sharks, rat tails, and swarms of amphipods peel away the soft flesh, piece by piece. And when they finish, they leave behind the one thing nothing down here should be able to use: bone. Clean, white, and locked tight. Or so everyone assumed. Because in February of 2002, a team from the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute was steering a robot through this exact canyon, hunting for deep-sea clams. They weren't looking for a whale. They found one anyway, half-rotted on the seafloor, and something about the ribs made them stop. The bones looked like they'd been draped in red shag carpet. They brought a piece to the surface, and the carpet turned out to be worms, eyeless, gutless, an entire species no one had ever seen. The scientists, led by Robert Virgin-Hook, with Greg Rouse and Shanna Goffredy, gave them a name 2 years later: Ossidax. It's Latin for bone devourer. And here is the first thing that shouldn't be possible. The worm has no mouth, it has no stomach, no gut, and no way to swallow anything at all. So, how do you eat a skeleton without a single part designed to eat? The answer is hidden below the bone's surface. In a structure, the worm grows like a plant grows roots. Those roots burrow down into solid bone, but they don't scrape, and they don't chew, because the worm has nothing hard to scrape or chew with. Instead, the roots secrete acid. The cells pump protons directly onto the bone, dissolving the hard mineral away. The same chemical trick your own body uses to remodel your skeleton from the inside. The worm is essentially digesting the bone before anything enters its body. And as the acid eats through the mineral, it frees what the whale left behind: fat and collagen trapped inside for years. But the worm still can't process that meal alone, so it doesn't. Packed inside those roots are billions of bacteria, living in the worm's own tissue, and they do the feeding for it. The bacteria break down the fat and protein and hand the nutrients back to the host. It's why the roots glow faintly green, stained by the sheer density of bacterial life inside them, while the gills above the bone wave bright red in the current. 2 colors, 1 animal, and not one mouth between them. Now, think about the acid for a second. The worm is bathing its own body in a substance strong enough to dissolve bone. It survives because its roots are wrapped in a thick protective sheath that keeps the acid pointed outward, at the skeleton, and away from itself. It builds a weapon that would destroy it, and then wears armor against its own weapon. But that's not the strangest part. When those first worms were studied, every single one was female. Not most of them, all of them. For a while, no one could find a male anywhere, until they looked closer, inside the jelly-like tube around each female's body, and found them. Dozens, sometimes hundreds. The males are microscopic, around 1/4 of a millimeter long, and they never grow up. A female can be 100,000 times larger than her own mate by volume. One female was found hosting a harem of 607 males at once, all living inside her tube. And it gets stranger, because these males were never destined to be male at all. When a worm larva drifts down and lands on bare bone, it becomes a female and begins to grow. When a larva lands on a female who's already there, it stays a dwarf, frozen as a tiny sack of sperm. The same larva, 2 completely different fates, decided by nothing more than where it happens to touch down. And there's one deep-sea species, Ossidax priapus, that broke this rule entirely. Its males never shrank. They grow full-sized, eat bone like the females, and stretch their bodies up to 10 times their length to reach a neighbor and mate, a near-total reversal of a path evolution almost never walks back. Now pull back and look at the whole skeleton again. These worms don't just feed on it, they erase it. One species can dissolve 6% of a whale's bone every year, enough to make an entire skeleton vanish from the seafloor in under a decade. And that has a consequence nobody expected. For a long time, scientists believed Ossidax evolved alongside whales, maybe 45 million years ago, as a specialist waiting for them. Then they scanned much older fossils. They found the worm's unmistakable borings inside the bones of plesiosaurs, mosasaurs, and ancient sea turtles reptiles that ruled the ocean over 100 million years ago. The worm didn't wait for whales. It was already here, eating the dead, long before whales existed, which means for as long as large animals have died in the deep ocean, something has been quietly deleting the evidence. Whole species of ancient sea creatures may have sunk, been consumed, and disappeared before they ever had a chance to become fossils. There are gaps in the story of life on this planet, and this worm is part of the reason those gaps exist. We still don't fully understand it. Scientists still can't explain how a blind, drifting larva, born without any of the bacteria it needs to survive, manages to find a lonely bone in the dark and pull the exact right microbes out of the open ocean. So the next time you picture the deep sea as a cold, empty, forgotten place, remember what's happening down there right now. Somewhere in the dark, a skeleton is being taken apart, one atom at a time, by an animal with no mouth, not out of cruelty, just the oldest arrangement in the ocean. Nothing is wasted down here, not even the bones.